opinion, there are no men's job and women's job, and today this definitely applies to finance as well. There are several reasons that make me say that. To give you a practical example, the most successful candidates of our financial market certificates are regularly the women. Another one is just in front of you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Claudia Segre, President and founder of the Global Thinking Foundation, and Karin Scholtes, Global Head of People, Culture and Communication at Banque, Internationale, Luxembourg.
So there was not any agreement to be both in good. It seems that it would be a pink panel, but it's a green panel because we have plenty of hope for this transition. Okay, so thank you very much. I think it's okay. In any case, as
we
many women.
voices.
Okay, I will speak very loudly. I will start to say that I'm here because I was born in 1965, so I have 57 years old, so I'm very linked to LFMA celebration. But out from that, because I started my career in the 90s, so I started in 1986, and I was very proud of my family origin because my grandfather was a stockbroker between the two world war in 1920s, and my mother started in 1950 to be the unique female stockbroker in Italy. So I was very proud for what I learned from them, and so when I moved when my mother finalized her career in 1990 into the most important market authority in Italy, Consob, then I moved to Milan, and when I arrived at Milan, I was plenty of joy, and I was enthusiastic of this experience to enter into a trading room. But immediately I realized that the situation was not exactly what I was expecting. So many of stereotypes, so many barriers and discussion are fighting day by day. For example, in order to, when I established my first, that was the first emerging market desk in Italy for emerging market in Intesa Group in 1995, and I asked to my boss to hire a woman that was working into the back office, it immediately stopped me and said, no, it's impossible, because if you are a woman from the back office, all the other people, they want to jump into the trading room. So, into this trading room there are 120 men and 4 women. Too many, you can imagine another one. No, it's impossible. So that was the story, and obviously there was not internet, it was a very different world, and was exactly like the movie at that period, exactly the same. But now, coming to 2022 and looking at the data regarding the female representation, unfortunately, again, we are really worried about. And because the female representation into this sector offer us some point of reflections on one side, and on the other side, thanks to LFMA, the opportunity to jump together in a different world with a better female representation, first of all, and also to have more solidarity for projects, to have more women involved, or in general, to have a situation where firms and large entities into the financial markets are committed that no one is left behind, as more women will be involved into our financial markets. So, as I have to say very loudly, that we need to share this commitment, and as was mentioned also by the ministry, the SDG, the goal 5, is absolutely a precondition for all the other goals. There are 2 preconditions. First of all, the achievement of goal 5, and the second one is financial education, and that's why we're here with Karin to speak about that. And last word is regarding the quota system, because you know that in order to have a better opportunity and to move in order to fight against inequality of opportunity for women, the quota system does not belong obviously to the liberal toolkit, but sometimes it's necessary to break down the fences. And what we have experienced in Italy with the Gulf of Moscow law is that we move in 10 years from 5% to 35% of representative of women into the listed company board. And at the same time, there was a proposal coming from NASDAQ, the Rule 5606, and the president of NASDAQ say we need to provide a transparent framework for NASDAQ-listed companies to present their board composition and diversity philosophy effectively to all stakeholders. We believe this listing rule is one step in a broader journey to achieve inclusive representation across corporate in America. And as well, you know, European Union in last June was moving to decide and impose a gender quota of 40% for companies board, and as well 33% for women in senior roles. So having this scenario, I would like to start this debate and this talk with Karin Scholtes, saying that using a different references of the lens to see gender equality in the organizational structure, in sustainability, towards the corporate social responsibility of each financial institution. From your point of view and your observation, could you please describe the current situation into the Luxembourg market, European financial institution, and why we perceive this difficulty to see enough women in top position and in specific roles in the financial markets? Karin.
So, first of all, do you hear as well when you speak, or I think by putting on the mic, is that better? Right, it's better, so just switch.
Okay, now it's okay.
I think that's... So first of all, without going into the details on the statistics, I think it's indeed a shared observation when you look at the financial market. So there are different topics. When you look globally at who works in the financial market, you find more or less an equilibrium between men and women. And by the way, diversity is so much more than just gender diversity. Today we're going to focus on gender diversity, but I'm sure we would have another very interesting discussion if we would put diversity at the center of a discussion panel at large, because it's also about culture, it's also about age, it's also about education, etc., etc. So when you look at the Luxembourgish financial sector, for example, you will find more or less 50. It's not exactly 50-50. It's 48 women for 52% of men. So you could say on one hand that we have achieved already a lot, but when you then deep dive on where these women are, you see the classical trend that the higher you get in the hierarchy, the less women you will find. And then I was looking to find, and that everybody knows as well in a way, so this is nothing new. What I found very interesting, and I was looking for some surveys on where do you find these women then, even if they are in the top positions. And what I found was actually a survey from 2019 from the UK that actually showed that when you analyze the top positions, you would find 60% of the head of HRs are women. 50% are heads of comp, so I'm the perfect stereotype in that context. On the other hand, you would find less than 10% of CFO being women. You would find less than 7% of women being chief information officers, and for CEO it's around 6%. So you see that even within the top positions, you will find a large diversity on what type of positions do women hold and what do men hold. And I think that this is where we have to really start thinking about, because when you look at the financial industry, there is no reason of having less women than men in top positions. You know, there is nothing about physical strength that you need. There is a lot of advantages that we should have in the financial industry, amongst others the capacity to work from home. You know, after COVID, It's an industry where home office can be one of the options, which is definitely something that would attract more women to that sector, that would also allow more men to get into the direction where they aspire more and more, also to have time for their kids, to have time for their family. They also want women who would like to do a career. So I find that very interesting to see that actually the problem is everywhere and even within the top position. So that is one observation that I would like to share. So having said that, then the question of course is, what can we do about it? And here I can only talk about my very practical observation, and I think this is also what we all want to do, because it's nice to talk about what we should do, but in the end we will be measured on what we have been doing and on the success that it will have brought. So I think that there are some elements that will help us go into that direction. One of the elements will definitely be the regulation. Whether we like it or not, I think this is one of the topics where we need to have to have constraints that we have to accept. So regulation is there. It will help us boost that topic. The second element is the war for talent that we see everywhere. So all the companies are suffering from that war of talent for the moment. Everybody tries to attract the best talent, men, women, whatever. So this will help also, I think, bring women in a different position when it comes to all types of positions, including top positions. Then I think that society will help us in that shift, as I said before. I think that, and I see it in our organization, for example, men taking parental leave becomes a norm. Maybe not as long as women take them, but it becomes more and more acceptable by all levels of management to see men going on parental leave. When I look at the divorce rate, which is certainly not a nice rate to see, but if I see that this exceeds 50%, I could imagine that less and less women want to be financially dependent of their men. So I think that there are a certain number of elements that will help us to achieve this route. And then there will be some obstacles as well. And what is dear to my heart is to accompany that journey in a way where you onboard men and women. We could have a large debate on where we are, on the history of the reasons of, what you very rightly explained on how it was in the 90s. But if you want to move away from that, and if you want to build a new environment, then I find it very important not to blame also men of what has happened in the past. It was just a different story. So I would focus all the energy on building a working environment which has been defined by men and women, and where you define where you want to go. You define the goal where you want to go to. So having this inclusive approach seems really, really important to me in order to succeed. And then what do you need in order to get there? So first of all, it starts with the women. This is really what I see on a day-to-day basis. I think we have to train them, we have to ensure that they want positions and hold positions with power and with managerial responsibilities. I don't see that on a day-to-day basis all the time. I think that educating women so that they are confident in the leadership roles that we ask them to hold, it will be much more important. And here, think back when we were all in school, did the ones, as the president said before, women are often the ones that come out with the best scores in the certificates, but they are not necessarily the ones holding the most senior positions or the leadership positions. And this is a little bit like when we think back of the most brilliant students that we had in school. Not all of them are the ones who did the most brilliant careers. So it takes a different set of competencies also then to climb the career ladder, and to make sure that within your leadership skills, if, for example, you will be a leader in financial markets, there is still a population out there which is very competitive, which can be, without stereotyping, with some very male-dominated behaviors. You will find these team members. So as women, you will also have to be able to manage this kind of teams. You have to be able to manage that these diverse teams. So educating women, for me, is really key, so that they feel confident to be able to hold these roles. Then educate men, of course. I think there is so much unconscious bias in there, and there are so many things that are said or done or without a willingness to harm. And I think this whole discussion that we have around the Me Too movement, for example, I think that raised so much awareness that we are seeing a change there. So let's continue also, you know, to educate men in that context, raise awareness, and then you have to train managers. You know, all the studies show that diverse teams are produce better results and have a higher success rate. But managing teams requires more management attention, requires more time, and is more difficult to manage. It's so easy if you have a team of people who are similar, because people understand each other very well and very immediately. So you share the same values, you share the same communication style, you do the same activities when you get out of work. If you have a diverse team, the output will be better, but you have to be a better manager in order to get there. And then last but not least, you have to measure. You have to set KPIs on your HR processes when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to talent management, when it comes to promotion, when it comes to salary. You have to bring very hard KPIs to the objectives, because only what gets measured gets done.
So measurement is crucial, obviously, but you mentioned education and partly the efforts put in place by the OECD, as our foundation, Global Fake Foundation, is the unique Italian foundation, part of the International Network for Financial Foundation for Financial Education, and as well we are cooperate as a CSO with the IMF, and from Christine Lagarde to the actual president of the IMF, the way to see strong financial inclusion is very important, and as well is very pivotal to have a greater gender inclusion and social protection. But then the attitude you mentioned also of the manager in general, the employees toward gender issues need a specific training, a specific way to have a different approach. So I think it's a little bit of to change the storytelling, to have a better understanding of the match between soft skills and hard skills, both for men and women, to be involved into this very changing and challenging world. Also because there are some other threats, and this comes from the cybersecurity from one side. And so people need to be educated, to be aware about this risk. And talking about financial education, what is your perception on the importance? Because it's from one side there is the buy side, on the side of the clients that need to be aware of the opportunity, risk, and to make aware decision. On the other side, the attitude coming from the financial services to be more pro-customer and customize in a very good way. So sometimes rules like MiFID II is not enough to have a very clear and transparent relation with clients. So I think that the banking system need to be more clear into the rules inside. So which kind of good practice or use we can share as into the banking system to change inside, first of all, from the organization point of view?
Well, I think, as you rightly said, I think it is very important to increase financial literacy for women, and there again, and here I cannot speak on my personal experience, but only from the discussion that I have with my colleagues responsible for the commercial activities. There again, I think when it comes to the small expenses or the small decisions, it's the woman often managing the budget, but when it comes to large investments decision, it's the man with whom the clients talk, or best, it's with the couple. So, and that then also means that on the other hand, as a bank, you need to ensure that you are, first of all, an ambassador of what you would like to develop. So that means that you will need to have more female employees in the roles of relationship managers, of financial markets, of really living the banking as being also a female-dominated world. And then you can think about building, and we had that discussion as well, should you build dedicated product offers for female? I don't know. I hope that at some point, you know, that will be merged between the two. And then you can think about, you know, do you really want to develop a specific area with certain products, with a certain service offer, with a way of servicing, etc. But therefore, I think it is a joint venture between the bank and its clients also, you know, to test of what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, also because if you think about also the digital revolution and the fact that there is again some very huge gender gaps in terms of digital skills, I see that many banks, they have so many people concentrated to sell insurances and different kinds of products, but no one that is open to describe, explain to final customer, particularly the elder people, how to manage into an intranet or internet banking in general. And so this is create another barrier, and again towards people that are less skilled or more fragile, like families and women.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think when I said before that less than 8% of the chief information officers are women, when you look at the teams, when you look at who works in an IT team, it's at least 80% of men. So that means, again, that men are developing tools for men, potentially. So again, your work has to start there to ensure that the products and services that are built and that are created and the way that the apps afterwards are set up are designed by women as well, in order to take this into consideration and again ensure that you target then the women that you want to target. I think that, of course, digitalization will increase a lot the accessibility to all the financial knowledge and to all the financial world. On the other hand, again, we have to make sure that we create the desire within women to really go into that and to really tackle the topic of finance and to be interested in that and to be interested in then all the digital offer that will be there.
And also, I think it could be an opportunity to have a transmit of intergenerational skills between women and the new generation, because there's another problem, because talking about dark web and all the social violence, and as well as risks related to certain use of Bitcoin proposal that sometimes are catching some fraud. The young generation, they are completely and fully dedicated to their personal mobile, sometimes lose the opportunity to prevent or defend themselves. So we need also more women's skills also for this reason.
I fully agree. so many opportunities out there indeed for women in financial sector, and then I think it's a lot about branding. You know, when you, and especially because we are here talking to a lot of traders, I think that indeed financial markets, I think, is the place in the bank where you would, if you would stereotype, if you would look at the film, if you would look at the movie, you would probably show a trading room, and then what you see, you would see all the cliché of man-dominated world, and all that has completely changed. So I think that there is a lot about communication, about branding that we need to do, not about employer branding, but really about financial industry branding on one hand, and then also about job branding. I'm sure that a lot of people don't know out there what a trader really does in a day-to-day life, what an IT person does, how many different opportunities you have in these sectors. So I think that yes, doing a nice and good and well-prepared marketing campaign, again in the context of water talent, is really key.
Yeah, in fact, with the other 3 girls of the trading room, we are preparing a book talking about the history and how to be a women trader nowadays. So we are close to the end of this panel, and if there is any questions for me or Karin, please feel free to raise your hand, and we are here to answer.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm Catherine Plessis, working in the trading room in the EIB, and I would like to testify that many women would like to achieve some high positions. It's simply that a lot of people do not see them, cannot figure out some women in this position. It's a problem of representation and ego. And if I may, I would like to put you on a test. In this room, who belongs to a couple where the man is earning much less than the woman? Okay. The test was absolutely successful. Okay, any other questions? No one? Okay, we can launch a new campaign, so adopt a female trader close to you. This will be the commitment of LFMA. So thank you so much for your intention to change things with us. I think that we are on the right mood and the right flow to do, and thanks to LFMA to offer us this time to discuss about it.